Hello everybody, this is Chef Scott. Let's make some cookies. I have a 5-ingredient cookie that you're really gonna love. It's actually a apple cookie crumble. And we have 5 ingredients. Basically, there's the egg. There's, of course, whenever we talk about cookies, we're talking about sugar. Then we got flour. And then we have, this is the unusual ingredient, dried apple crisps or apple slices. The last one is the only one I got to work with here, and that's the butter. Now, working with butter like this comes with measurements on the side. That's what we need. When I was young, my mom had one hand. And what happened was a lot of times she would cut butter and it would get into our food and everything. Now, it almost created a phobia for me. So in my case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look here. I'm gonna go ahead and very carefully unwrap it with a bread and butter knife. I'm gonna take time to figure out these curves, these folds, these indentations so that I can get all the paper out. There we go. And then I can begin to cut this. Now, how I normally cut this when I'm gonna cook is I'm gonna cut it lengthwise. I'm gonna go ahead and get a nice cold butter. Doesn't have to be frozen. I cut it this way and then I turn it and then I cut it again lengthwise. And that means that I'm gonna get little cubes. If I turn it and slice it this way, see, I've got little cubes. And I'm gonna need that for what we are making. We are gonna use 7 out of the 8 tablespoons of butter. So we're ready to go here. Now this goes very quickly. One of the points behind 5-ingredient cooking is that you can use certain ingredients in more than one way. And that means you use different cooking methods, different handling methods, and it's fun. I got a little ninja here, and I'm gonna use that to help make what we're gonna do. Number 1, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the sugar, because the sugar, even though it's granulated sugar, did you know that you can actually cut sugar down and make it smaller, which is gonna make for a better cookie. So here we go. Oh, I'm gonna run this for about 10, 15, 20 seconds. Depends how much time you have. And it's gonna help make our cookies a little bit better. Now, that's already in. Next step, let's go ahead and put in our flour. And we have 1 measured cup. I'm gonna put that in. Now this is neat. This calls for 1 1/3 cups. So if I were to go in and take a 1/4 cup measure and then follow it up with a tablespoon, I'm gonna have myself 1/3 of a cup. This doesn't have to be exact to the granule. This just needs to be very close, within a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon to work for us. If it's too dry, we'll add a little liquid. If it's too wet, well, then we'll add a little more flour until we get the right consistency. Okay, so we are ready here to blitz, but before I do, let me show you, we have all-purpose flour here. The recipe calls for self-rising flour. What is that? Self-rising flour actually has 2 ingredients that you're used to having in your kitchen. One is baking powder, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put in a teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda. Baking soda is something completely different. Then we're gonna come, and another ingredient is salt. Oh, how much salt? Probably a couple pinches. You want about that much salt. Okay, about a 1/2 teaspoon per cup. Then when we blitz this, we will have self-rising flour. now that's all mixed up just right. Now, we're gonna go ahead and put in our apples. Well, it just depends on how many you want. The recipe calls for 3 ounces, but is it by volume or by weight? If you weigh it, you're probably gonna see that you're gonna need a whole lot of dried apples. If you do it by volume, you're gonna see that you're pretty much set with 1 package container, because this is gonna make about 24 cookies. It's gonna make between 16 and 24, depending on how big you want them. So let's do the whole thing. All right, that's in. And let's give that a blitz, because we're gonna break that down. Ooh, it sounds like it's just gonna start chopping. Now feel free to use something other than dried apples. You may want another dried fruit of some kind. The other day we did this with mango and it was really, really fun. Let that go for about 1 minute. You can use a more powerful food processor if you want. That's fine. But this is what we have here today to use, so I thought I'd use it. All right, I'm just going to open it up, take a look. Okay, now we're going to put in our butter. So I've got butter. I'm just going to break it apart and put that in. So we got little cubes. Actually, I can put that much in. Tap, tap. Let's get that going first. Now this is where the magic happens. That butter's going to mix with the flour and it's going to start to blend. It's going to make a really nice cookie dough, with the exception of our eggs, which we'll get in just a minute. I'm going to pour out half of that into a food processor, into a bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of my butter. Okay. Got the lid on. I'm going to go ahead and give that a blitz. Now you're going to find out what streusel is. This is streusel right here. Streusel's the top of coffee cake, and it's used to make a great topping on cakes and cupcakes, cookies. We're going to do one with the cookies right here. And you can hear that it's all mashed up real nice. This is what I want. Now I'm going to go ahead and add back some of our cookie, because it's too wet. And it's okay if this sounds like it's going to die. We're going to just let it keep doing its thing. Like I said, at home you may have a more fancier, stronger, better food processor. That's fine. All right, it's going round and round, that's good. Okay, now, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take some of that streusel and we're gonna hold it aside. I'm gonna go ahead and reuse my cup container, and this feels a lot like oatmeal, doesn't it? Yeah. Then we're going to put the rest of this back in. So we have all of our dry ingredients in. If you have a big food processor bowl, this will go a lot easier than what I'm demonstrating for you. And the last ingredient is the egg. We're going to crack that open, take a peek, make sure there are no shells. That looks pretty good. Double check. Yep. And now let's make the cookie dough. Almost done. Let's see. Blooper. Okay, so we got this fixed. All ready to handle. Now, let's see what we got. Got my bowl here. I have cut my hands on this without even meaning to. So I'm gonna be very careful with this guy, all right? In fact, I've got a little, this will help get all of that off. I've cut myself actually putting this away from the dishwasher. Just, you know, it's already dried, and I pick it up, I cut my finger, and I don't like that at all. Okay, so now we just come around. We want to get as much of this out as we can. Let's take an extra minute here, get that all out, because everybody's going to want a cookie. I don't want to lose a cookie in this processor. This is a good way to do things so they don't shoot all over the kitchen. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my hand in a little flour, and that's going to give something for this dough not to stick to my hand, but I have a barrier between it. And I'm just going to feel it. I'm just going to see how it's doing. Maybe I'll turn it a few times. And now let's be honest. Let's look at this. And it's a little sticky. You can kind of see how sticky that is. That's what we want. That's okay. You know what? We're going to be baking these. It's going to be beautiful. Now, the only little trick to this is we want to take plastic wrap and wrap it. We're going to wrap it for at least 30 minutes. Hey, if anybody processed you like that, you'd want to rest too. So, I've already got a piece of plastic wrap ready to go here. And just using this to make sure all the ingredients are incorporated nicely, which they feel like they are. And now I'm going to simply, you see how this is in one big mass? I'm not going to want that. What I'm going to want is a sausage. So one of two things. I can form it a little bit here, but then I can let the plastic wrap work for me. Let me rinse my hands real quick and you'll see what I mean. I love this trick. Kids like this. Okay, what I'm going to do is just wrap this up like this. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to mold it. I'm going to move my hands away. And then I got myself a log. Looks like I'm making sushi, doesn't it? That's exactly what I'm trying to do. And then I'll grab the ends. We'll twist. And we'll make a sausage just like that. Okay, that's going to make it easy when we have to cut this into pieces here. All right, I'm going to let this refrigerate for a half an hour, and I'll see you then. We are back, ready to form our cookies. So here is our sausage cookie dough. Oh, this is such a great recipe. It's something very different than chocolate chips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my cutting board, and what we're going to do is we are going to cut in there, open it up, then I'm just going to take little bits of it like this. Now I may not get 24 cookies out of this. I've got another piece of plastic wrap because I want to show you how much fun you can have with this. Number one, you're going to want a barrier between you and the cookie dough. So I got some of this. What we do is we roll it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take the next one, roll it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we just keep going, which I'll do right now. By the way, were those cookies big when I did them?
No, they weren't.
They were the right size?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. What you can do maybe is you can't take like a picture and then a picture and then a picture. Go ahead and take a picture of that and then I'll remove it.
Okay.
I'll put it down. Take a picture of this.
doing this while in the video.
Okay. It'll be fun just to show up. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get some more of this. Hands are getting... This is working better because it's a wetter dough.
Yeah, I said, talk about getting it off the knife and stuff. How safely.
All right. One of the things I want to do is get all of this off of my knife. I take my blade and lay it flat against me. I certainly wouldn't want to go like that. That would be scary.
That was good.
Look at all these balls of cookies. Okay. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, that's even worse than before. All right. Okay, so let's have some fun here. I got my cookies and I've got another plastic wrap. So let's do something fun here. Instead of just doing it by hand, let's just put this over and we'll put this plastic wrap over. Then we could take anything flat and just press down, not too hard. I want some height to the cookies. Look at that. That's perfect. And then we'll put on our streusel that we made, just like that. Pat it in. And then we got ourselves a very good looking cookie. There's one. Okay, I'm going to do this for all of these. Now, if you don't have a pan and you don't believe it's going to work, use a plate. If you don't have a white plate, use a green plate, yellow plate, brown plate. It'll work just great. Press it firmly. That might happen. Okay. That being that it stuck to my fingers or it stuck to the bottom of the plate. You want to press that in a little bit. Then I flip it over and just gently pull this off. And there's two. And we're going to repeat this for all of these guys so that everybody is happy. I'll be right back. We're going to finish up our cookies and I have a cookie rack. I love these things because the idea is that cookies are really, really soft. And as they cool, that's when they start getting harder. So we got our cookie dough ready. Now I've already preheated the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I did that because your food has to be hot. You gotta be able to cook it. You don't wanna wait for it to come to temperature. Your food will sog and drag and wilt. So go ahead and have your oven preheated. Come on in, take a look. I've got racks in the middle, and I'm gonna put this in the middle rack. If I had this on the lower rack, the cookies would burn on the bottom and may not be done on the top. And if I cooked it on the top rack, the opposite could happen. The top would be burned and the bottom may not be cooked, which makes for an uneven cookie that nobody wants to eat. Okay, we're gonna let this go for 8 to 10 minutes. All right, we are ready to take these things out. Oh, look at that. Before I stick my face in, I gotta let that big wave of heat come out or else I'm gonna get a facial, a heating facial. Look at these beauties. All right. Isn't that nice? We got beautiful brown edges, crunchy crust. Let's take these over here to our baking cooling rack. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna let this cool for a minute before we take these off. I happen to be in a hurry because I'm hungry for these cookies. See how they got really big and beautiful? as these cool, they're going to get harder and harder. So we're just going to keep unloading them. And like I said, if you don't want apple, you don't have to use apple. If you want cinnamon in this, hey, that'd be a 6th ingredient and a great combination with apples. If you want to try things like peaches or maybe mandarin oranges in their can, feel free to use some of that canned items that you've had in your pantry for a while, and you're just going to end up making the most beautiful cookies. This is Chef Scott. I thank you so much for being with me. I'm going to go eat those beautiful cookies without you.